One of the things that I constantly get asked by a large number of people who don't understand the sort of lifestyle and the way in which I choose to live is what started it all off? Well, it's very simple. I was disgusted, this was back in the mid to late 60s, I was disgusted at the way in which animals were kept. And after a conventional upbringing as far as nutrition and diet was concerned, I hadn't asked any serious questions, apart from the main one, which was how animals were kept and what we could do about it. That stimulated us to think about what was then classified as self-sufficiency. All the issues about diet and nutrition and so on had very little research, and so we just accepted the fact that the conventional diet that we were brought up with was right, and in some respects it was quite good as long as you had plenty of fruit and vegetables as a main part of the diet. Then the rest of it all sort of fell into place and nobody really questioned it. So, mid to late 60s we started questioning how animals were kept that we were consuming. What was the difference, for instance, between lamb and mutton? Most people don't know that mutton comes from a sheep which is probably 3, 4, 5 years old, and that sheep may well have had a very good lifestyle on the hillside. The lamb, on the other hand, probably had 3, 4, 5 months of life, never experienced adulthood, hadn't had much time outdoors running around, and therefore you were killing a baby. We started looking at pigs and goats and all sorts of various things. We kept goats for a number of years while our children were being brought up, because we questioned the way in which animals were kept in the dairy world, and the male calves from the milking cattle. What happened to them? You needed to ask these questions, and of course the vast majority of them were killed within a few days of being born. That seems to be, to me, a very great shame. We're in a space now not much bigger than a domestic garage. Certainly if you call it a large domestic garage, this is a space which most people have access to, because if they keep a car, it will occupy this amount of space. It's one of those things which we need to get to grips with in a big way, because the amount of space which is occupied by the motor vehicle nowadays is so colossal that it proves quite categorically there's loads of ground available. And we have another very important point to bear in mind, that if you're eating a significant amount of meat in your diet, you're probably having between 3 and 5 times as much land used for your food as somebody who doesn't eat meat or consume dairy products. So why kill yourself early with the meat and dairy products when you could perfectly well use the space to grow your own vegetables and fruit? Because that is what we should be consuming. That research has proved without any shadow of a doubt that those two things are the most important in your diet. The space is available for practically everybody. It might be tricky if you live in a multi-storey block of flats, but go to your council and insist on getting an allotment. The options are there. Join a gardening group. join a group of people who will help you unreservedly to produce your own fruit and vegetables. I've never yet come across anybody who produces their own fruit and vegetables who isn't happy to share their knowledge and their experiences with everybody. It's very much part of a way of life. In this building at the moment, as I said, about the size of a domestic garage or slightly larger, we've got squashes, we've got carrots, we've got beetroot, we've got leeks, we've got cabbages, we've got lettuces, and behind me here the next crop of carrots was sown 2 days ago in these individual pots. They'll be producing crops before Christmas. There are more carrots in there, no, beg your pardon, more beetroot in the top there. So this amount of space has already produced our earliest potatoes. It's already produced lots of carrots and beetroot and various other crops, but now it's got this lot in, and these squashes in here, which are now dominating the area, and they try to take over the world, much the same as the physalis does in the other greenhouse. But these will be producing a crop which can be stored over the winter. We'll probably still be eating the squashes produced in here next Easter, because there will be 20 or 30 squashes just from this small space. And pumpkin seeds and squashes seeds are extremely nutritious. They're a concentrated food source. They're very, very good for you. They will be producing, and as soon as they are finished, they will still produce a large amount of compost material. So they've got lots and lots of advantages. As I said before, these are the second, or even in some cases the third, use of this particular set of ground. So by concentrating the amount of effort you put into this ground and concentrating on it, you can have an enormous amount of food for a remarkably small area. As we've shown you before, we've got tanks which are off the roof here, so you've got plenty of rainwater, which is better for most plants, available for watering the area here. A tank behind me, a tank elevated over there. Those will store enough water off this own roof, therefore there's no mains water available in here, it's all rainwater. The nutrition from those sorts of levels of food, for the amount of ground that we've got here, is way in excess of anything which can be grown outside. But the only thing which competes with it in terms of volume of food is runner beans. They always do better outside because they rely very much on insects to do the pollination. Most of the things in here don't need pollinating, they're mostly root crops, but also the squashes, they need pollinating, but flies seem to do it very successfully in here. I hope I'm right, I don't know what else is doing it, but about the only thing which can get into here is relatively small flies, and it seems to work. So please make some effort to grow as much food as you can for yourself. You don't need to aim at total self-sufficiency, nobody needs to aim at that, but the fresher the food is that you eat, the more nutritious it is. Whether it's a simple lettuce, some cabbages, some sprouts, some broccolis, some beetroot, carrots, or the amount of squashes and pumpkins that we've got in here, anything is better than buying it. Not just from the point of view of finance, but also importantly, far more importantly, from the viewpoint of your own personal health. Go for it.